So what's next on Eurosport? Here you have it.
In the fast lane now at over 300 kilometers per hour, we're in the American zone with karts.
With Hasseröder, the German premium beer. And LG Electronics, digitally yours.
To a street track. Welcome to Detroit. Kenny Breck is the man of the moment in Champ Cars. 2 wins in the last 2 races have handed him the championship lead, and he comes to Detroit seeking a hat-trick. But the heat will be on. Helio Castroneves took his first ever kart win here 12 months ago, and Honda-powered cars have won the last 3 events in Detroit. That could be good news for Michael Andretti, a twice winner in Motor City, coming off his best result for Team Motorola, a second at Milwaukee. Good too for 99 winner on this street course, Dario Franchitti, who always goes well on this demanding and exciting track. The Raceway on Belle Isle is ready for action. It is a glorious day in the northeast of the United States. Hello and welcome to the Raceway on Belle Isle. I'm Ben Edwards with Jeremy Shaw, and we're all set for round 7 of the FedEx Championship Series, the Kart Grand Prix of Detroit. We are back on a street circuit, and Helio Castroneves, who starts up front today, has an opportunity to close the points gap on championship leader Kenny Breck.
Yes, 2 wins in succession took Breck to a 23-point advantage. That's now 22 points with Castroneves claiming the pole.
Castroneves battled with his teammate Gilles de Ferran, but it was Castroneves who just came out on top in qualifying.
It's difficult to pass here, a lot of strategy going on, and hey, I tell you, it's really tough to start in the position, special here, but the Marlboro Team Paints did a good job, and I'm going to start number 1 tomorrow.
He was very happy as ever, and remember, he's already won on the street tracks this year. That was at Long Beach when he started on pole position, and he led just about the entire race to take the victory in California. He may well do the same again today. Well, we have 25 cars ready to start this race. Now let's take a detailed look at the starting lineup. Helio Castroneves then on pole position, joined by Bruno Junqueira, the man who's taken over from Montoya at Ganassi Racing. Gilles de Ferran's on the second row, and Dario Franchitti is alongside him.
On row 3, Jimmy Vasser has second here in 95. Patrick Carponche, finally a clear run for him. Roberto Moreno, another good run also for Patrick Racing. Fittipaldi crashed this morning, will start the backup car.
Shinji Nakano is 9th, Kenny Breck championship leader is 10th, and then behind them on row 6, Oriol Servia and Brazil's Maurizio Gutermin.
Michael Andretti didn't get a clear lap in qualifying. Nicolas Manassi and the young French rookie alongside him. On row 8, Adrian Fernandez, Alex Zanardi. He won here in 98, struggling again though here. 2
winners this year already on row 9, Cristiano De Massa and New Zealand's Scott Dixon. On row 10, it's Michel Jourdain Jr. and Alex Tagliani, who crashed in qualifying.
Max Wilson doing a good job for the small Arciero Blair team, and Brian Herter, boy, he's been struggling with that car all weekend. Paul Tracy, he's been off the road 3 times. Max Papis also not on the pace.
At the back on his own, in fact, will be Tora Tagaki. That's because Tony Kanaan, who should have started at the back, in fact, he suffered some concussion as a result of an accident yesterday in qualifying and has withdrawn from the race. So sadly, Tony won't be racing here this afternoon. The cars are on track already, as you can see. This 3.38 kilometre temporary street course to be held over 72 laps. It is a demanding track, as we said. There are some very high speeds seen at various parts, and because the race has been shortened slightly, quite a wide fuel range, we might see people coming in as early as lap number 15.
Yeah, there'll be people trying to stretch their fuel loads. And Paul Tracy's team, he starts way back on the grid. They talked for 2 hours this morning discussing different potential strategies.
A look at the track. It is a 14-turn course. Some of them are tight and twisty, but particularly between 6 and 7, Jeremy, a fast and tricky section of the track.
That's right, over 180 miles an hour there, and before turn 3, also the quickest part of the track. Turns 1 and 2 very, very fast, and turn 3, that's the best overtaking opportunity on this tight and very demanding and very challenging track for the drivers. They really enjoy driving here.
They do enjoy it. In fact, Gilles de Ferran was saying they ought to turn this place into a permanent racetrack if only they could resurface it. It is very, very bumpy, and that has been a little bit of a consideration over the weekend for the drivers and teams. Looking down over this track then, and it is beautiful conditions. We're in the Detroit River here. You can see the boats just bobbing along at the side, a few pleasure boats, trying to get a little opportunity to watch the action on track here.
Yeah, spectacular viewing here at Bella. It's a great location for a racetrack, and I agree totally with Gilles. This is a permanent track here with a good proper surface on it. It would be fantastic.
Well, we've got Canada to one side of us, the United States on the other. The geography of this Detroit River means that Canada's actually to the south. It's all very strange, but let's concentrate on the build-up to the start of this race. Castroneves in the number 3 Team Penske entry. And remember, the target car, that's Bruno Junqueira, the reigning Formula 3000 champion, who's come over to the States to effectively take over the seat that Juan Montoya had. Junqueira has started on pole this year, but this is a whole new challenge, and Castroneves takes the green. They're a little bit spread out, but he gets into the first corner ahead, and Junqueira is second. De Ferran slots into third place safely, and it's the run down to turn 3, the next corner, that we might see some outbreaking opportunities coming up.
Huge jump there for Elio Castroneves. I'm kind of surprised that Jim Spittel threw the green flag there. Dario Franchitti looks to the inside, somebody down the inside. That's Oriol Servia there downside. The inside is Shinji Nakano, and on the outside of him also Michael Andretti. So
everybody trying to gain a little bit of position. There's Andretti on the outside of the Motorola car. Now Franchitti did lose one place at that start to Patrick Carpentier. A little bit more battling Gujamin there, side by side with Japanese driver Shinji Nakano. Nakano had his best ever qualifying effort in Champ Cars, starting in 9th place, but just being demoted a little bit. And there we are on board with Nakano's team boss, Adrian Fernandez. And Fernandez right behind Nicolas Minassian, the Frenchman, in the second of the Target Chip Ganassi cars.
This is the second fastest part of the track, down the strand, down to this corner. This is where Tony Kanine crashed last year and broke his wrist. This time he crashed somewhere else and just got a minor concussion. So not such a bad injury, but again, we said earlier on, Tony Kanine not part of this race.
Castroneves has got away, and De Ferran will be the man who will be struggling here a little bit to try and close that gap up. He's got Junqueira between him and Castroneves, and he won't be too pleased about that. Here comes Elio to complete the first lap then. Junqueira shadowing him on this opening tour. De Ferran is in third, Carpentier in fourth, then Frank Kiddy. Jimmy Vasser is in 6th place ahead of Fittipaldi 7th. Moreno is in 8th. Kenny Breck, the championship leader, in 9th place at the moment, and Oriol Servia in 10th place with Michael Andretti 11th and Maurizio Gugelmin 12th. Top 12 cars come through safely. No accidents on this opening lap. That's good news, and we've seen 1 or 2 accidents throughout the practice and qualifying sessions, but so far so good.
Yeah, those are very pleasant change. The last 2 races we've seen incidents on the first lap, and the big loser in both of those, Cristiano de Mada, so he'll be just thrilled, I think, and very, very relieved to get through here the first lap without any dramas. The movers there, including amongst them Patrick Carpentier, great start from him, up 2 places on that first lap. Christian Fittipaldi, he's also up a place too, so he's made a good start. And Oriol Servia, we saw him pass down there in turn 3 to get past Nakano, who went all the way from 9th back to 13th.
Yes, so not good news for Nakano. Servia had a good run here last year, his best ever finish coming here in Detroit, a 3rd place, and it was the first podium finish at the time for Toyota engines. Well, we've got a Honda-powered car leading, a Toyota-powered car in 2nd place, then Honda Power, and then Ford. So the 3 engine manufacturers are well represented at the front of this field, and you have to say that Junqueira doing a nice job of just chasing after Elio Castroneves. There he is, the young Brazilian, 24 years old, taking over from Montoya, comes in like Montoya as the reigning Formula 3000 champion, and like Montoya as a former Williams Grand Prix test driver. And Junqueira has impressed everybody in the States this year. Didn't start off too well in Monterey and at Long Beach. He struggled particularly in qualifying, but in Long Beach he set some of the fastest laps in the race. Looking further down the order, look at Paul Tracy here, making a move or not on Alex Zanardi, and that is a good battle for position.
Oh, but he loses out there to Michel Jourdain. Good move by the young Mexican driver. We can see Zanardi ahead of these 2. There is Jourdain, and then the cool car of Paul Tracy, and he'll be disappointed by that because he would have seen on the last lap around that Zanardi was actually passed by Alex Tagliani. You can see Tagliani's not in the picture. He's pulled away already from Alex Zanardi, so Zanardi has fallen back. He started 16th, he's now back in 19th, Ben.
So he is struggling and just didn't seem to get the balance on the car right. I spoke to him briefly yesterday and he said it took them too long to get the engineering on the car right, to get the setup right. He felt they had something pretty good by the end of qualifying, but then they were caught out by plenty of red flags. Many drivers were caught out yesterday by the timing of red flags and didn't get their best laps in. Up front, Castroneves and Junqueiro cross the line to complete 3 laps. De Ferran is 1.5 seconds off the lead in 3rd place, and we're riding on board here with Bruno Junqueira as we head down 180 plus miles an hour here, and then onto the brakes, down through the gears, into the tight right-hander at turn number 3. Plenty of surface changes to watch out for on this track as well. Some areas are concrete, other areas tarmac, bumps on the transitions. Concentration crucial. If you just make a little mistake, if you go slightly offline here, you will be straight into the wall, and that's a consideration as we go through the race.
You can see there, Gilles de Ferran. Oh, 2 cars off there. That's
Zanardi,
yeah.
Zanardi, Jourdain, who have gone off there. So Alex Zanardi and Michel Jourdain, we saw them together a moment ago, Jeremy, and now it's all gone wrong for these two, and that surely will bring the yellows out.
Yeah, full course yellow we're here. We can see on our timing scoring chart monitor here, the yellow screen has come around the outside. That denotes it will be a full course yellow. And yet more disappointment for Alex Zanardi. This season has just been disastrous for him. Nothing has gone right. You can see now, look, Jourdain looking down the inside. He's not quite alongside him, but he's, well, at least halfway alongside. Zanardi turns across him, and they make contact there just at the apex of the corner. You know, 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other, really. I mean, Zanardi knew, I think, that Jourdain was there alongside him. He thought he'd given him enough room. Apparently not.
Well, that's a great disappointment. We've lost those 2 already, and interesting to see that maybe 1 or 2 will come in early. Helio Castroneves is our race leader.
With Hasseröder, the German premium beer.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of round 7 of the FedEx Championship Series. We're under yellow at the moment. First full course yellow of the day after an incident between Alex Zanardi and Michel Jourdain. So everybody just coasting at this point, busy saving fuel, which might prove to be crucial as we get through to the later stages of this race, and 1 or 2 drivers out there hoping to use that strategy to move up the order. On board with Adrian Fernandez, he's quite a long way down the order. We've seen a number of cars that were at the tail end come into the pits a moment ago just to try and take advantage of this in terms of strategy, Jeremy.
Yeah, you never know when whether he might need that fuel a little bit later on. Scott Dixon was the best place of those who came into the pits. He'd been running in 17th. He came in along with Paul Tracy, Brian Herter and Tora Takagi. So 4 cars in the pits. The last 3 were in 3 of the last 4 positions. And as I say, Dixon was up in 17th. So they now fill 20th through 23rd.
Look at this picture, isn't it fantastic? That's downtown Detroit to the left of the shot, just there we saw. And walking back to the pits, there's Alex Zanardi, still intensely popular with the fans. Another replay, Jourdain went for the move down the inside into turn 3. Wasn't quite there, but Zanardi perhaps could have left him a little bit more room. It was one of those, as you say, tough situations to call a 50-50 race incident. In a way, they both could have avoided it. Neither did, and they both paid the penalty.
Yeah, I agree with you there totally, Ben. I think Jourdain, yeah, he wasn't completely alongside. It wasn't a totally clean pass, but he was at least I would say halfway alongside. And Zanardi, with the experience that he has, I'm sure knew he was there. I think he probably tried to give him room, but at the same time he didn't want to give him more room than he needed. He was hoping that Jourdain was going to back out of it and maybe try him again on the next corner. It didn't happen. Jourdain he knows there's not many opportunities to pass here, and you need to take advantage of wherever you can.
Now, there's been a lot of controversy this weekend. You look at that part of the engine that sticks out through the engine cover we just saw on Castroneves' car, known as the pop-off valve. It's something that is used on all of these engines to limit the amount of turbo boost that the engines provide. Now, this weekend, Jeremy, huge amount of controversy because CART changed that pop-off valve. Supposedly, some of the engine manufacturers saying without much notice, with hardly any notice in fact, they were told they had to run a revised version, and Honda and Ford in particular not happy about it.
Not at all, no. It's that pop-off valve, it regulates, as you say, the amount of boost. They're limited to 37 inches of boost. If the teams try to get anything more than 37 inches, that pop-off valve pops open, and it releases all the turbo pressure, so you lose about 300 horsepower. Well, some of the teams are saying there's the two different valves. On the left is the old one, and the right is. Let's hear from Robert Clark of Honda.
We saw it for the first time at Michigan. In fact, even at Michigan, CART did not bring it to our attention. It was actually one of our team crew members that brought it to our attention, brought the valve over and said, have you guys seen this? And yes, we're totally caught by surprise. We feel that it truly violates the relationship that we have with CART as an engine manufacturer regarding trust and confidence in the series. And we're very upset about this.
Well, I think the most important thing for any sanctioning organization is that it's stability in its rules. And the VP of Competition and Rules and our Chief Technology individual in race operations in Michigan presented all three engine manufacturers with this situation and gave them the extended pop-off valve. And they were all in full knowledge that this was going to happen. And the process was instituted as we can by the rule book, and I think this shows that CART and its rule stability and its process of a sanctioning organization is going to enforce the rules.
Now, Joe Heitzler there, the CEO of CART, he's saying that they need to enforce these rules, and indeed they do.
Into the pits comes Max Papis. Another one to try and take advantage of an early yellow. Another one who qualified towards the back. A disappointing weekend so far for the Italian, but hoping to try and pull something out of the bag. It is possible with the way that the pit stops are working today. They have got a lot of options in terms of when they stop. A little bit of luck might come into play, and you never know, Papis might feature later in the race. Just getting back to that story for a moment, Jeremy, we saw Honda not even going out for the first practice session on Friday. Ford didn't go out for quite a while. Eventually they did decide to go and play. How's this going to be resolved in the future, do you think? Because Honda actually made an official protest, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. You know, the several teams tested at Michigan International Speedway on a big oval earlier in this week, and all three manufacturers did run this new pop-off valve there, extended pop-off valve, at that test. They weren't very happy about it, particularly Honda. On Wednesday, however, three of the rookie drivers, or four rookie drivers with three teams, tested on a road course at Mid-Ohio. They were all Toyota teams, and they did test that valve there, and that is the biggest bone of contention. Toyota has tested on a road course. Honda and Ford has not had that opportunity. That's why they were so upset. As you say, there was an official protest. It was turned down by a court of appeal with a proper judge there at the helm of that. But I think there's more ramifications. Honda were seriously upset with that, and that relationship between CART and Honda has been seriously damaged.
Well, good news is that they're all out to play today. They're all racing. You're looking at the onboard camera with Maurizio Gugelmin. Fun camera, this one. It's on the side pod, and it can actually swivel a little bit from the totally rearward facing to then seeing Maurizio's helmet. We'll hopefully get some more pictures from that as we go through the day. And as we see, just see the shadows being cast by the trees along the avenue there. The weather conditions couldn't be any better. It's about 25 degrees Celsius. There's a nice breeze blowing. For the fans watching today, it is just ideal, and we're about to get racing underway again as the green flag awaits Castroneves. He will take it this time across the line to complete 7 laps, and we're back to racing. Junqueira chases him in second place. Reigning champion Gilles de Ferran is in third. Patrick Carpentier, the French-Canadian, in fourth, getting it a bit sideways out of turn 2. Now that could give Dario Franchitti in fifth place a little bit of a sense to try and go down the inside here into turn 3. Dario has a little look, but he's not quite close enough. Decides not to take the gamble in this early stage of the race, and so Carpentier stays fourth. Franchitti is in fifth, and then Jimmy Vasser heads up that next little group of Fittipaldi, Moreno, and Kenny Breck.
Yes, some close racing here. You can see the drivers struggling with those cars. They're bucking around as they fight for grip on this bumpy concrete surface here, and there's a lot of surface changes. Look at the cars bumping there, bucking around as they come off turn 6 onto the strand.
This up to about 175 miles an hour as they head up, and they're braking on the corner here, so stability of the car crucial as it rides those bumps, slightly up and down, and now into this little sequence of third and second gear corners where you see plenty of surface changes, concrete to tarmac, back to concrete, back to tarmac, and they have to somehow set these cars up to work on both surfaces.
Yeah, the engineers here really are faced with an intense challenge, and also this year the Firestone's come along with a slightly different tyre in the past. Seems to be a very, very good tyre, slightly more durable in the past, which should lead to less marbles on the racetrack, less bits of rubber floating around offline, as we often see on this sort of a track. It's also a very consistent tyre. The drivers and teams very, very happy with what Firestone has brought.
We're riding with Bruno Junqueira once again. Had his best finish of the season so far in the last race at Milwaukee. And he was talking in the press conference after his impressive second place on the grid and saying, well, he's still learning. He's still getting used to these cars. They are a lot faster to what he's used to from Formula 3000 in Europe. Remember, these machines have between 850 and 900 horsepower compared to the sort of 450 horsepower car that he was driving in Formula 3000. Twice the amount of power then, a turbocharged engine, characteristics quite different. Bruno's gradually been getting used to it, and you have to say he's getting used to it very effectively now. Qualifying second here, as I say, finished fourth last time out in Milwaukee. Already one pole to his name, and surely we're going to see his first podium finish coming soon.
Yeah, he's a great talent he is, and we might have Michel Jourdain Jr. to have a word with. He's made it his way back to the pit lane after that incident with Alex Zanardi.
Yes, Jourdain in the pits. I think we're going to go down to him any moment now. The young Mexican, not really having much luck, I'm afraid, here in Detroit this weekend. He's had a little bit of an up and down season so far, driving for the Herdez team. Let's hear from him.
Turn 3. Quite a battle with Tracy Zanardi and company. Can you tell us what happened, Michel?
Well, since the beginning, Alex, I think, was really slow, you know. I lost a couple of positions trying to pass him. I got pulled back. Again, because Alex was blocking him and tried to pass him, and I guess I wasn't all the way in, and he blocked me and didn't make the pass.
Well, we're glad that you're all right. Sorry that you're out early. Thank you.
Thank you.
Drama on the track as Frank Kitty gets passed by Jimmy Vasser, so that's a change for fifth place, and I don't quite didn't see exactly what happened in the early stages of that, but Vasser getting past Frank Kitty, Fittipaldi right behind him, and that's a little bit of a surprise.
That is a surprise. You know, we were talking with some of the Penske team earlier on today. They were saying that with this new pop-off valve, it's changed the dynamics of the engine and how the power is delivered onto the racetrack, and particularly apparently when they're running a lean fuel mixture. And by what I mean by that is they're trying to get better fuel consumption so they can run a little bit longer before they make a pit stop. And when they are running on that lean mixture, the engine doesn't have much power, and it's a little bit difficult to drive. I wonder whether Dario is having that sort of a problem.
Could well be, Jeremy. We'll keep an eye on his progress. He's down into sixth place. Former winner at this track in Detroit. He really does enjoy driving this circuit, and the team have been working hard to provide him a car. He was on a very quick lap himself yesterday that could well have challenged for the front row when the red flags came out, and that time is immediately discounted. Even if you complete the lap, if the red flags come out, they don't count that as a qualifying lap, so therefore Dario started on the second row, but he has been displaced one position and coming under a little bit of pressure now from the blue car of Christian Fittipaldi. Meanwhile, Jimmy Vasser in the orange car, he's carrying the Vistion name this weekend. It's been an unsponsored car this year so far, but Roberto Moreno, his teammate, sponsored by Vistion, they decided to put the name on Jimmy's car this weekend because this is Vistion's hometown, so a little bit of extra coverage for them. Elio Castroneves is our race leader, ahead of Junqueira, De Ferran, Carpentier, Vasser, with Frank Kitty now down into sixth place. So looking on down the order, you can see that Oriol Servia now in 10th position. Behind him, by the way, still Michael Andretti running in 11th. Maurizio Guterman in 12th. Shinji Nakano is 13th. Minassian, Fernandez, and Cristiano D'Amata still a long way down, Jeremy. D'Amata obviously still well up in the championship, having taken a victory this year, but he struggled here this weekend.
Yes, he has. They haven't got the car too right for him, really. He was going fairly well, particularly this morning he was having a good run. He was actually P3, third quickest in the warm-up, until he put it in the fence. In actual fact, both Newman Haas drivers put their cars into the wall this morning. Christian Fittipaldi is in the backup car, because it was a lot of damage on his machine. Cristiano D'Amata, they did repair that car, so he is back out in it. And when they both crashed, at the particular point that they both crashed, they were both, as I say, third in that warm-up session. An unhappy coincidence.
On board with Guterman, down into turn 3, just guides it in smoothly. Watch the steering wheel, see for the reaction back through that steering wheel of the various bumps around this circuit. That gives you a fairly clear indication that most of that joggling of the steering wheel is caused by those bumps. It's not the driver trying to joggle the steering wheel. It's the track that feeds back to him, and you can really see that as a result. And we're coming up to one of the faster sections here along the Strand. As I say, just under 180 miles an hour. A bit of a bump just up here before they brake. Just there, we can't really see it from the onboard picture so well, but I was standing at that part of the track earlier on the weekend and can really see the car thumping over that bump before they get onto the brakes.
It's a really good place to watch that. There's a lot of good vantage points here for spectators. You can get up alongside the wall pretty much on the outside of many of these corners, and there's some really quite good viewing. You can see how hard these drivers have to work on this very technical sort of a racetrack.
Now he's coming up through the slightly slower turn 12, 13, and now we're back across the line as Jimmy Vasser crosses there in 5th position with Dario Franchitti in 6th. 12 laps have been completed, and it's still the Team Penske driver Castroneves up front by just under half a second from Bruno Junqueira, with Gilles de Ferran in 3rd, Carpentier and Vasser chasing. And things have settled down a little bit in these early stages. As we know, we've seen 1 or 2 cars in the pits on the first yellow. We would expect the leaders to be able to push it to around between lap 25 and lap 30 before they make their stops, or even a little further than that. Now we've had some yellow flag in the early part of this race, so we don't expect to see the leaders coming in for a while, but if we see anybody going into the wall, then we might well see them dashing into the pits to take advantage of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and certainly at this stage, most of the drivers will be taking it fairly conservatively. It's still at very early stages in this race. It is difficult to pass, so unless they've got a good clean move on someone, I don't think we'll see too many drivers really pushing the issue at this stage.
Watching from on board, Nicolas Menassien there, and now we move back to see our race leader, Helio Castroneves, this likeable Brazilian who's always got a smile, particularly when he does well, very emotional. We saw him leaping onto the fences here last year. It's become a little bit of a trademark for him, and is now being called Spider-Man, which he seems to love that name, and lives up to it whenever he gets the opportunity. Looking at Paul Tracy just going through the picture, started down in 23rd, has moved up to 18th position, so Tracy's on one of his comeback climbs through the field. We've seen him win races from as low down as 17th, for example. That was at Long Beach last year when he moved up from there. So that's an interesting one, and we'll see whether he can move up. Dario, meanwhile, we've heard, has had a little bit of a technical problem.
Yeah, a voltage spike we're hearing. He must have been just as he was getting ready for the restart, perhaps. Just there was some sort of spike in there amongst the electronics, confused the engine momentarily. And I think that must have been as he was coming past the pit exit there after that restart, and that enabled him. He just sort of lost a little bit of momentum and allowed Jimmy Vasser to get that jump on him now. But everything apparently, other than that, is now back up to working at full speed.
So Dario looking to try and get back on terms with Jimmy Vasser for that 5th position. Dario's fiancée, Ashley Judd, here at Detroit this weekend, in fact was racing in the celebrity race that was held just a little earlier on this morning.
And we're rather hoping that Dario does rather better than his girlfriend, because she apparently, I was told, put it into the wall at turn 3.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, let's hope that things go better for him in the main race. Looking at championship leader here, Kenny Breck, started in 10th place, still in 9th position at this point. Now I know I was looking at their performance this morning in the warm-up, walked over to the pit. They were having a big powwow afterwards, not too happy with their race setup initially.
No, they've been struggling all weekend, and looking behind it there is Oriol Serbia, who has passed Michael Andretti, but back there is Oriol Serbia, but the shell car there, Kenny Breck, that's chassis number 03, a Lola chassis, and that car is actually unbeaten. It's only raced twice this season, the last 2 races, so it's won both of them, and he's looking to defend that chassis' unbeaten run.
Castroneves and Junqueira are top 2. As they come through, they're coming around on the 15th out of 72 laps. Very much the early stages of this kart Grand Prix of Detroit. Castroneves looking for his 2nd win of the season. Already a winner on the streets of Long Beach early this year. And this slightly different shaped track, it's got some more fast corners on this one in Detroit than the Long Beach circuit. Long Beach tends to be very much stop-start. Always a great atmosphere at Long Beach. Good atmosphere here in Detroit this weekend, particularly with these stunning weather conditions. We had a very hot and muggy day on Friday. The drivers were really suffering in the cars. I have to say the weather both today and yesterday has been absolutely perfect. You can see the grandstands down through turns 1 and 2 have filled up well as we've gone through today, and the crowd enjoying not only the great weather conditions but also an intriguing race in the early stages, as Franchitti here putting a little bit more pressure on Jimmy Vasser for 5th position. Up front, Castroneves' advantage just under a second last time through. So Junqueira, I think, just holding position, and everybody they've got that fuel mixture leaned off. They're not going to take too many gambles at this point.
Well, that's true. Just the last lap or so, though, Castroneves has just pulled out a little bit over that second and the third place car of Gilles de Ferran. The gap on that lap, as you said, just under 1 second, and also just over 1 second back to Gilles de Ferran in third. Then Carpentier, he's close behind de Ferran, and then this battle here for fifth place, led by that man, Jimmy Vasser.
Yeah, former champion himself, of course. Jimmy Vasser was driving for the Target Chip Ganassi racing team last year, was teammate to Juan Pablo Montoya, and then moved to Patrick Racing for this season. In fact, Jimmy's had a pretty good season. He was unfortunate last time out in Milwaukee when he was right up with the leaders to be taken off by Tora Tagaki, the Japanese driver, and that ended Jimmy's race, because up to then he'd had a consistent scoring run throughout the season, always in the top 6 up to that point, and it was just unfortunate that he got taken out by Tagaki. Tagaki did get penalised. In fact, he got black flagged and was prevented from continuing in the race.
That's right, he was. And up until last race, Jimmy actually had the best overall finishing average position after those first 4 races of the year. So he's done an excellent job with Patrick Racing, and he's looking to continue that and get his championship challenge back on track this weekend.
On board here with Nicolas Minassien, the Frenchman once again, the teammate to Bruno Junqueira. Mentioned earlier, he's still suffering from headaches a little bit. He was telling me that really came from that last shunt he had at Milwaukee. Big accident. He'd had a couple of accidents before that as well. Had a qualifying accident at Nazareth, also had an accident on the oval at Motegi. It's been a tough baptism for him.
Yes, it has, and driving with any sort of a discomfiture is really difficult. This series is competitive enough without any sort of handicap.
You know, he told me that it's even more competitive than he thought it was going to be. He knew it was going to be tough, this championship. He's also moved from Formula 3000, but it's even harder than he thought. Castroneves, our race leader, Junqueira in second, de Ferran, Carpentier and Vasser are chasing.
With LG Electronics, digitally yours.
Castroneves is our race leader. 18 laps have been completed. His advantage still just under a second. We're riding here with Adrian Fernandez.
Yes, he has. And look at it. Behind Adrian Fernandez now is Alex Tagliani, and that's because Cristiano De Mata just made a very bold pass down on the inside into turn 1. He got a great run off the final corner and just snuck alongside and was able to take away that position into turn 1. Great move by Cristiano De Mata.
So it is possible to overtake here. It doesn't always seem that way. We've already seen an incident between Zanardi and Jourdain where they went off battling, but it does show you can overtake if you get the good run. Our race leader, Castroneves, still with that advantage over Junqueira that's maintained itself at about a second over the last few laps. De Ferran still in third place, but Carpentier has been keeping the pressure on. And you have to say, for Patrick Carpentier, the blue car, the Forsyth car, it's been a disappointing season for him so far, and running up there in the top 4, that's good news for him. Back to Castroneves, you can see he's led every single lap so far in this one, and he did this at Long Beach, Jeremy. It's dangerous for everyone else, isn't it?
Yes, it is. He's a master, this young man. He's a very, very talented driver. He doesn't make many mistakes, and he is, when he's out front, he's a very, very hungry character. He's looking for win number 2 here on the streets of Detroit.
Driving for Team Penske, and they do a lot of their own aerodynamic work on these cars, based in the wind tunnel in Southampton, their Poole, Dorset-based factory, where they do a lot of their own development on the Reynard chassis. I know rival race engineers look enviously at that car, the amount of downforce that they managed to create thanks to that extra aerodynamic work that they've achieved. And I think other teams look at the way the car handles these sort of street circuits and think, well, I wish our car was as good as that. They have good cars, they have 2 excellent drivers as well. Reigning champion de Ferran in the second of the Team Penske cars. And look, Franchini's got back past Jimmy Vasser.
Yeah, I don't know where he did that. I think it might have been that same place coming down here into turn 3 on the previous lap when they came past us. Franchini was ahead by about a second or so, so somewhere clearly he got momentum. And there is Cristiano De Mata now, closing up onto the tail of Nicolas Minassien.
De Mata in the Texaco Kmart car that we've seen so much of in recent years in the hands of Michael Andretti. Just back end of the car, just moving around a little bit on the bumps, but no major problem. And at least Cristiano's got through the first lap this time after 2 disasters of being the innocent victim of accidents on the last 2 oval races we've had. He didn't qualify well here, but he's managed to avoid trouble so far, running in 15th place. You're looking back at the matter now, and his next target, literally, with the target sponsorship, is Nicolas Minassian, running in 14th.
Here's the battle for the lead. They're really the first 4 places, all pretty close together. You see Carpentier bring up the rear, and you saw that, maybe the flash of the green car as well. There is the second place car, Junqueira, behind him, De Ferran and Carpentier, and Dario Franchitti also is beginning to move closer to that 4-car battle for the lead. Look at Dario there, how much he's pulled away from Jimmy Vasser already.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be coming together for him now. Look at De Ferran, just having a little sizing up of Bruno Junqueira. Doesn't make the move, but just making Junqueira very aware that if he makes the slightest mistake, he's going to nip past. Now, I wonder how Junqueira's feeling in that car at the moment. He had some back pain yesterday after qualifying. He aggravated an injury a little bit that he got in mid-Ohio. He was actually using the HANS device, the head and neck support system that many drivers are using this year, and it just stirred up a little bit of a back injury. He got it sorted out during the week, but then in qualifying he just tweaked his back again, and he was a little bit pained in the press conference, but we gather that he is feeling better today. He was, at least before the race started, but it is bumpy out there, and I wonder, as we go through the race, whether that back may not make its presence felt.
And look at talking about making his presence felt, that certainly sums up Dario Franchitti, who's really closed very rapidly on this car of Patrick Carpentier, and Franchitti's last lap, 1 minute 17.025. Pretty sure that is the fastest lap of the race so far. Castroneves, by contrast, was a 1:18.2.
So let's keep an eye on that battle then. Into turns 1 and 2. Very quick right and left hand sweep over the camber here. The car drifts out to the wall at high speed, and now heading down towards turn 3. This is where we know it is possible to overtake, but it's tough. And at the moment, Franchitti's not far enough alongside, or not even alongside, Carpentier to make the move. So he just watches for the moment, looks for the little mistake perhaps from the French-Canadian. And Carpentier, very impressive in qualifying yesterday. He really grabbed that car by the scruff of the neck and threw it around the streets to put in the fastest time of the first qualifiers. He was in the first qualifying group, so that was an impressive effort from Patrick Carpentier. Meanwhile, earlier on we saw the incident between Alex Zanardi and Michel Jourdain that unfortunately took both drivers out of the race. Let's now hear from Alex
Zanardi. Yes, we tracked him down back at the motorhome area. And Alex, I know this has been a tough year for you. What happened at the end of the back straightaway there?
Well, I drove a few laps. I knew with the car I was driving today I was not going to get live TV at the end of it, so I decided to have a crash so I could send my best wishes to Tony Kanaan and get live TV this way, although it's not a very nice way to end up talking to the TV.
Now, it looked to me as though possibly Jourdain didn't get into position. Is that how you feel it came about?
Well, the bottom line is at the end of this situation you always kind of blame each other, and it's very uncomfortable to say anything about the accident. From my view, I didn't see anybody coming. I knew he was there, but he didn't put a move, and I left a little bit of room, and boom, I heard and I felt my back going around, and that was it. It's very unfortunate. We had a tough season so far, and I'm not gonna give up, but certainly it's hard because I was expecting different result. And more than that, more than the accident, is really the fact that we were nowhere at the beginning of the race in terms of competitiveness. So we just have to get all together and work very hard and try to find out what was wrong with the car all weekend long, that we couldn't place it up higher.
Thank you, Alex. And again, thanks for your enthusiasm and your good spirit.
So Alex Zanardi, who will be back out next week at Portland, of course, as will all of the regulars, and he'll be sad to be out already. Castroneves, Junqueira, De Ferran, the top 3 after 23 laps.
With LG Electronics, digitally yours.
25 laps have been completed now. Helio Castroneves is still race leader, 1.3 seconds ahead of Bruno Junqueira, with De Ferran in third. Fernandez here, well, he's quite a long way down the order in that 16th position. Tagliani a little way behind. Now we have the slightly different view from up front. Look at the front wing from this angle. You can see all these little shark fins. Now, these are all added to the front wing in an attempt to try and generate a bit more downforce, and we're seeing lots of little add-ons around the various cars.
Yeah, we have just trying to sort of maximise the flow of air over the front of the car and direct it into and around the side pods and underneath the car, just to, as you say, generate a little bit more downforce on this sort of a track. And you can see there's Adrian, I think he's on the radio there, and he's changing gears and coming up into fifth gear past our box here and down the gears into down one gear, fourth gear into turn one.
Through this slightly off cam, you can see a little bit of opposite lock in the mid-pass of the corner as he changes up through the gears up to sixth gear at 180 miles an hour once again into clear blue sky above. It is just perfect weather conditions we're enjoying here in Detroit, and it couldn't be any better in terms of a place to watch a motor race this afternoon. But the battle on up front between Castroneves and Junqueira, still much the same gap between those two as they came past last time, 1.2 seconds, but we are getting towards the time that we'll see the leaders coming into the pits.
Yeah, what's interesting, you see Kenny Brett's crew there is ready to bring him into the pits. That's interesting. We saw on a couple of the oval races, certainly 2 races ago, Motegi, Kenny Brett was one of the last people to make a pit stop. He was stretching his fuel load longer than everybody else. That's really what allowed him to win that race. And then last time out in Milwaukee, he was one of the first people to pit, so that's interesting.
Now we gather that Kenny is heading into pit lane, coming in from 9th position. So that is pretty early for him to be coming in. 27 laps have been completed. We had a little bit of yellow in the early part of this race. Montoya, when he was leading this race last year, also came in on lap number 27. Juan Pablo Montoya dominated this race until he had a drive shaft fail on him last season, about 2/3 distance that was, soon after his second pit stop. Well, Kenny Brett making his first pit stop, and the championship leader gets away safely. Remember, no matter how many points he does score or doesn't score here today, he will still be championship leader as they head off to the next round. That's Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon, now that's a strange place to end up. I presume he's had a spin and the car has come to a halt, but it's almost right on line. You can see the tyre marks there just to the right of the car. That's the true racing line, so that's a nasty place to stop.
Yeah, that's what turn 12 there, I guess, right in front of the television compound, in fact, and you can see him waving frantically to get a push start. Luckily, you can see on the right hand, look at that, there goes Castroneves, the race leader, so Dixon's losing time here. And the good news, I think, is you can see on the right of that picture that the wall has been moved back from the apex to the corner to give the driver the better vantage point and viewpoint through that corner. Hopefully that will keep him from being hit from behind.
Well, this could bring out a yellow, but it hasn't done yet, which is interesting. If it does bring out a yellow now, this would be ideal for the leaders to choose the moment to pop in. Jimmy Vasser, meanwhile, does pop into the pits from 6th position. Jimmy comes in. We've got a camera on one of his pit crew helmets, so we can see Don Oldenburg carrying the camera for us, and we can see the sun glinting off the visor there as Jimmy gets away cleanly. No problem for him. Toyota power in the back of that car, getting them through to lap number 28, but they had hoped, we gathered, that they would be able to push it to just beyond lap 30, so fuel consumption not as good as they had hoped. Into the pits there was Alex Tagliani as well, the second of the 4 size cars. Carpentier, his teammate, still running in 4th position. Meanwhile, still no sign of a full course yellow, so I guess, well, look, the safety team is out. Now, that's interesting. Safety team out and no full course yellow.
Well, that's a bit weird. I'm not so sure about that. We can see the white flag with the red cross on it, which shows there is a course car on the track. But I know Chris Neifel is doing his best not to go full course yellow. Look at that, Bruno Junqueira. I think he's pretty convinced himself there's going to be a full course caution. And Castroneves, he's been told by his crew there isn't going to be, and the gap that time around 4.2 seconds.
Yes, Junqueira really dropped time there to race leader Castroneves, and De Ferran, seeing it happen, now is determined to try and get past. Cuts to the inside, heading down into turn 3, but it's not quite close enough. Junqueira defends nicely, no problem at all, and De Ferran remains frustrated in his attempts to get past. So it's still Junqueira second, gets it very sideways across the bumps. That was as he got the 850 horsepower down onto the road, and the bumps just kicking the back end out. So it lost him a little bit of momentum, but not enough really for De Ferran to challenge. Meanwhile, of course, right behind De Ferran, Carpentier is scenting an opportunity here, as is Dario Franchitti, with Christian Fittipaldi and Roberto Moreno all very much on terms in this battle for second. So what a break, what an advantage this has given to Helio Castroneves. This incident, I think, as you say, Junqueira must have lifted, backed off momentarily, sliding around again there, Junqueira, definitely under pressure. And now as they come through this avenue of trees, and De Ferran's got the place. De Ferran moves up as they go into turn 12. We saw a little mistake. Junqueira there wide, and in fact several cars getting past him. I don't know whether he's got a technical problem. He has slowed down considerably. He made a little mistake, and Fittipaldi comes in the pits. This is for a scheduled stop, but Bruno has lost a whole bunch of places. He's down into 5th place.
Wow, and yeah, one slip there, and look how these other guys took advantage of it. Big loss there for Bruno Junqueira, as we can see Roberto Moreno trying to make a pass down into turn 3.
Here comes Roberto. He's also going to go past the younger Brazilian. Moreno, who's not had a very strong season so far, is featuring in this race. He's up into 5th place as Fittipaldi makes his stop and comes back down pit lane. Now, we still haven't seen the leader come in. None of the front-running Honda-powered cars have come in. We've seen mainly Toyota-powered cars in. There is a Honda-powered car. That is Adrian Fernandez. And he was a fair way down the order, so it doesn't really count with our lead battle for the moment. That 50-mile-an-hour speed limit applies through pit lane. Now he can get on it as he accelerates out. Meanwhile, Junqueira now coming under pressure from Oriol Servia, the Spaniard. And right behind him, twice winner in Detroit, Michael Andretti.
I'm not sure. I think Junqueira must have some sort of a problem. He's dropping back at a pretty prodigious rate here. I don't know what the problem is. We've no real indication of what it might be.
Always a problem when you get pushed offline that you do pick up some of the rubbish on your tyres and therefore can't lap as quickly for a lap or two afterwards. It may be that. I think Junqueira... Oh, no, coming into the pits. That all nearly caused an accident coming in there. Confusion behind as Servia wasn't sure whether he was coming in or not, and that very nearly got nasty. But Junqueira comes in, and Andretti comes right down to the far end of the pit lane, and we're watching the Target Chip Ganassi crew at work. They've been so successful in recent years, this crew. Now then, can they get Junqueira out cleanly and smoothly? No stalling of the engine, that's no problem. And away he goes. Andretti isn't going to get out ahead of him, but he might get out ahead of Servia. Yes, Michael does get past Servia in pit lane, and now he'll try on cold tyres to see if he can put a bit of pressure on Junqueira as they rejoin the circuit. Up front, our race leader, Castroneves, still hasn't made his pit stop. Surely that will be coming soon now. As he comes out, we'll see. Perhaps he's got the kink to go through, and then he'll be coming down towards the pit lane area. I wonder whether Helio will be coming in on this, the 32nd lap.
He's turned a couple of very fast laps the last 2 times around. He's really made up a lot of ground, and yes, he is now into the pit lane, Ben.
So let's see what he's going to do. He's got an 8.4 second advantage last time around. This has really worked well for him, and a very fast lap coming in, a 1 minute 16.8. So Castroneves is flying here, and he just needs a cool, calm pit stop from the Team Penske crew. Let's watch them at work. No rushing, no fluster. It's just got to be done smoothly. De Ferran in behind him as well. De Ferran in 2nd place now, coming into his pit. And away goes Castroneves.
Great stop there by Rick Reinemann's crew, and there's Matt Johnson's team going to work on the number 1 car. Just waiting for that last bit of fuel, and away goes Gilles de Ferran.
So he gets away cleanly. Dan Franchitti still behind him in 3rd position. So no changes amongst those guys. But what about Carpentier? Well, he had already stopped Patrick Carpentier on the previous lap. We didn't see that one. So Patrick had already stopped. And look at this battle between teammates. Moreno on the inside, Vassar on the outside. Ooh, Vassar got a little bit sideways under braking, but kept it under control.
Yeah, of course, Moreno, he's just come out of the pits, and Jimmy Vassar, he made his pit stop a couple of laps ago. So Jimmy has has warmer tyres on his car, and he's trying to get past Moreno, and he's lost the position there in that round of pit stops. Moreno, by stopping later, has managed to get out ahead of Jimmy Vassar.
So Castroneves with the advantage. Everybody has made their first pit stop now, and Castroneves still our race leader. We've got a Team Penske 1-2 at the moment, with Junqueira having dropped gradually down the order. And that means that Castroneves, well, in fact, no, where is, I'm just trying to look, oh, I think that's Tracy that might be behind him. Now, Tracy made an early stop, didn't he? So, in fact, Tracy now moves up into second, but he will have to come in fairly soon, I would think.
Yeah, he will, but he's been running, he's been struggling a little bit for pace over the last few laps, but he's trying to stretch that fuel as long as he can, and he's hoping that he can get to the finish with just one more pit stop. That, I think, is the strategy for that Team Cool Green effort there, but it's going to be a pretty tall order. We've got 33 laps now, we've got 39 to go, so I don't know, I think he's going to have he's going to struggle to stretch his fuel that far, but he's certainly been doing that. He's been running, he's certainly got that fuel mixture on a very lean setting, and he's trying to stretch that fuel as far as he can go.
Behind him, in fact, it's Carpentier, having made his stop, is in third place, so it's not a Penske 1-2 as I thought for a moment. In fact, the other Penske's down in fourth place. De Ferran is fourth, Franchitti is fifth, Moreno is sixth, and then Jimmy Vasser is in seventh place. So it is interesting to see that Tracy and Carpentier have gained a bit here. In particular Carpentier, because he was up in that lead group all the time. He's made a scheduled pit stop and he's managed to get himself ahead of De Ferran. So great news for Forsyth Racing with Patrick Carpentier. He hasn't scored any points at all yet this year, and yet he's now got a potential podium finish, but we've still got a long way to go in this race. Plenty more can happen. We're watching the battle between the two Patrick Racing teammates. Moreno versus Vasser. Up front though, nobody seems to have an answer for Helio Castroneves, who leads just before half distance. 5 laps are being completed in the Grand Prix of Detroit, and Brazilian Helio Castroneves is our race leader with just a fractional advantage over Paul Tracy and Patrick Carpentier, holding on to third place in the Forsyth Racing Reynard Ford. Castroneves coming under increasing pressure here from Paul Tracy, and Carpentier right there as well. And Jeremy, we were just talking about it a moment ago. Surely Patrick Carpentier, they can't have put a full load of fuel in that car, because he wasn't in this position before that first round of pit stop. Suddenly though, he's right up there with Castroneves.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because we have such a wide fuel window here, which means, yeah, there is Paul Tracy pulling into the pit lane, but by a wide pit window means you can make a pit stop at a wide variance of laps and still reach the finish on 2 pit stops. So I think you're right. I think they've gone for a short middle stint on this car for Patrick Carpentier. But here's Paul Tracy into the pits.
Now then, there are 36 laps completed, 36 laps still to go. They will put a full tank of fuel in and hope for some yellows, I think, in this race, and hope that this will be their last stop. Now, that will be tough to achieve. These cars probably can manage, as we saw, about 31 laps before their pit stop running in the first part of this race. Now, if he leans that off and they get a few yellow flag laps, he might well make it through with that being his last stop, but it will be tough for him.
Yeah, he's got to find another 5 laps worth of fuel to get to the end of this race, and that's more than 7 gallons or so. That's tough to do, but it's certainly from where he started on the grid, nothing ventured, nothing gained by Team Cool Green. That's what they had to do. They really didn't have any other option but to try that strategy.
We just looked past out of our commentary box window. Max Wilson going very slowly. There you are, you can see him. He stopped just down at the turn 1 area, gets it out of the way, trying to get offline, because the outside of the track there is the line for the corner, and the marshal's doing a good job of trying to get that car around. Of course, the steering lock on a racing car is not that good, and he can't get it round the corner unless they back him up a little bit first. Poor Max Wilson, I don't think he's finished a race yet this year. They've had it's a fairly low-funded team, new team to the series, and reliability, I'm afraid, has not been their strong point. Meanwhile, you're looking at the battle for the lead, and that's right, it is Castroneves versus Carpentier. Carpentier using that short fill of fuel to move himself up in the order here and really applying the pressure to Castroneves, who no doubt will be a little surprised to see the blue and white car quite so close behind him. Quick lap on last lap, by the way, from Carpentier, a 1 minute 16.819.
That's right, yeah, he's not got a lot of fuel on board that car, I'm pretty sure. He's got a lot less fuel than Helio Castroneves, so the car is a good bit lighter. He's hoping to make hay here while the sun shines, quite literally, and turn them some fast laps and following the race leader. That's exactly what he's going to be doing.
Looking at a replay here. Max Wilson, look at that! Oh, right rear wheel becomes detached, semi-detached at least, from the suspension. So it looks like a toe link has broken on that right rear suspension. And, well, Max did a good job to keep it all under control and not go into a wall anywhere. Bit of a scary moment, though.
Yeah, right. You see, he must have clipped one of the walls there, I think, and knocked that to right rear awry, and he manages to keep that car under control and bring it in before he causes any more damage.
Castroneves has completed 38 laps. He's got Carpentier shadowing his every move. While back, we've got 8.8 seconds between these guys and third place Gilles de Ferran. Then Dario Franchitti still running up in the top four. Roberto Moreno is fifth. Jimmy Vasser is sixth. Bruno Junqueira in seventh after his problems earlier on. Michael Andretti's eighth, and Fittipaldi ninth, and Servia is 10th.
Yeah, and a very good battle between Junqueira and Andretti. They came past our booth here, they flashed past, and Andretti was inches behind Bruno Junqueira, looking to make a move into turn one. I don't think he was able to get it done that time around, but certainly Andretti thinks he has a faster car than Junqueira, and he wants passed into 7th place.
Looking further on down the list, just after that round of first pit stops, De Mata is in 11th, and Tracy rejoined in 12th position now after that stop we saw a moment ago. Kenny Breck way down in 14th, by the way. Brian Herter into the pits. He was one of those to make an early stop when we had the first yellow. Scott Dixon is in the pits at the same time. There he is, just on the left of your picture. And Dixon having to receive a push start. So it's not been a very successful day for Scott Dixon. In fact, the push start hasn't worked, I can tell you. He was looking across from our vantage point, and they're pulling him back into his pit box once again. Down towards turn 3, there we are. There is Dixon's car just being pulled back into position, and it looks as though it could be the end of the day for the New Zealander, winner of the Nazareth race. But it doesn't look as though he's having the same sort of good fortune today here at Detroit. Castroneves leads Carpentier, and you can't even see third place man Gilles de Ferran in the picture. These two are that much further ahead of him and lapping very quickly, both in the 1 minute 16.6 second bracket. They really are charging, these two, whereas Gilles de Ferran in the 1 minute 17.2 last time around. Through the twisty section that really is taken mostly in second gear. This is where we saw Junqueira make that little mistake and run wide and then drop all of those positions. Max Papis is not far ahead of them. He will be lapped soon.
Yeah, he's having a dismal weekend. The whole Team Rahal effort, they've been struggling to get their loaders up to speed this weekend, and obviously, at least for Max Papis, the race is no better.
Castroneves leads then. 39 laps are completed. Carpentier is keeping the pressure on in second place. Looking on further down the list, just keep an eye on Roberto Moreno and Jimmy Vasser, still running 5th and 6th, the two teammates. But you can see the whole length of that straight, and we still didn't see Gilles de Ferran coming into the picture. These two have a 10-second advantage over everyone else.
Yeah, they both pulled away by more than a second. Oh dear.
Minassian, that's Nicolas Minassian in one of the Target Chip Ganassi cars. He was running down in 15th position, but he has spun out, and that's the area up at turn 7 where Tony Kanaan had his accident last year. He hasn't hit the wall that hard. There's a lot of tyres up there. They've put in extra tyres this year in case people go off there. Oh, we've got and that's one of the players' cars. Which one is that? Is it Tagliani? Is it Carpentier? Difficult to see. It looks like it is the 33 Tagliani.
Well, that's interesting, because they've been battling together, those two. Tagliani and Minassian were together, I think, on the racetrack having a battle. That was over 15th place. I think the full course caution is going to come out. And where's that? He's off at turn 12, isn't he? So they're both off opposite end of the track, having been dicing together.
Well, this is interesting. Full course caution, and I think we will see the leaders come in because they can get to the end from this point safely on a tank full of fuel. No problem at all. But what we might see, of course, is Paul Tracy staying out there at this point, and that could interestingly change the mix up front. Let's watch what happens as Castroneves comes in. 6 men only allowed to work on the car in Champ Car Racing, remember. Now, they're not changing the tyres. Interesting. No change of tyres for Castroneves. Stays on the same set and simply refuels. Now, Firestone have got quite a hard compound tyre here this weekend. The teams are very happy with it. And interestingly, several of the teams there deciding not to change tyres. Franchitti almost got a chance to get past de Ferran on the pit exit, but de Ferran got out just ahead of him. Under yellow as a result of Alex Tagliani's accident. We've seen a number of, or most of the leaders come into the pits on this yellow. Castroneves came in and got out safely. De Ferran has come in as well, so has Carpentier. So Carpentier still second, De Ferran is in third, and there is Kenny Breck also making a stop under this full course caution. Guterman coming out, and the two of them almost clipping, but not quite.
And Brian Herter, he was actually a lap down. He'd made a pit stop just a few laps ago. He did not pit, and that is good news for him. He will be able to cycle on through. I think they will wave him past the pace car, and he will be able to rejoin at the back of the pack. The only other guy who didn't stop was Paul Tracy. You're absolutely right, Ben. He did not come into the pit, so that team is gambling that there's going to be, I think they're going to need at least one more caution period before the end of the race. But if not for that, you can see Tracy there in the lineup. He's pretty well up it. There's Herder, he's a lap down. There's Castroneves. There is Carpentier. There is De Ferran. And look, that's Franchitti. And then one of the Patrick cars. And Paul Tracy wasn't far behind that.
Junqueira has stopped. He's called to a stop. We saw him, one of the stars in the early part of this race when he was applying the pressure. Let's take a look. Now this is his teammate, Manassia. Oh, and he just spun it around the right-hander there. They're on the brakes through the curve a little bit there, and then back on the power, and you can see off he went. Now, Tagliani was close behind him.
Yeah, here's the onboard from Manassian's car. Now, there's Tagliani behind him there, and you can see him just getting into there, and the car still, the rear end stepped out, and around it goes. Well, Manassian did get back onto the track, by the way, and they're just 4 corners later. Kaboom, look at that.
Wow.
Strange.
Yes, very interesting. Tagliani didn't make the corner at all. That's what you call chronic understeer, when the car doesn't want to turn, and it went straight into the tyres. Both drivers are out of their cars and are fine, but out of the race.
Yeah, Manassian is back, and his teammate, we see there, Junqueira walking away, and the beneficiary from all of that was Adrian Fernandez, who saw 2 guys go sailing off the road straight in front of him and said, thank you very much indeed. I'll take those 2 positions without any problems whatever. And there we are on board with Adrian.
Yeah, down in 15th position, so he's still a long way down in this race, but you never know, if they carry on doing that in front of him, he could move up into the points. Points paying down to 12th place, remember, in Champ Cars. Castroneves, though, is the man looking to take 20 points for the win and a point for leading most laps. He's already led most laps in this race, so he's guaranteed of that extra point already. Castroneves, Carpentier, De Ferran, Franchitti, Moreno, the top 5. Tracy, Vassar, Andretti, then Fittipaldi, Servia, D'Amata up into 11th, and Guterman in that final point scoring position in 12th. Championship leader Kenny Breck struggling a little bit down in 13th place. It really hasn't come to them this weekend, but that's the nature of this championship, Jeremy. You know, 2 wins on a trot. The next race you come to, suddenly you find yourself down in 13th place, and you might not be scoring any points. It is that competitive.
Yeah, it is. It's a tremendous series, and you really don't know who's going to be up at the front every weekend. Having said that, you can be pretty sure that Penske team's going to be up towards the front, and Team Cool Green, but you know, really there's a handful of other teams as well that have been at the front just about every race this season.
They're still behind the pace car, touring around quite slowly, busy saving fuel as much as possible. That's so crucial in this form of racing.
And Paul Tracy is just saying, keep this yellow going as long as you like.
Yes, Tracy wants it. He very much needs it. 6th place for him. And remember, he started in 23rd position. We'll see whether he is able to hold on to it.
LG Electronics. Digitally yours.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage from Detroit. You're actually looking at Canada on the far side of the Detroit River there, with, as we mentioned, plenty of boats out on this beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon, enjoying the lake, enjoying the river, and a little bit of an opportunity to watch the cars flash past on the Belle Isle Raceway. It has been a great day in terms of conditions, and it's been an exciting race so far. Castroneves has dominated it, we have to say that, but he's not had it all its own way. Junqueira pushed him in the early stages, and more recently it's been Patrick Carpentier who's been applying that pressure. And we'll see now, as we get into the latter part of this race, whether he can continue that. We're riding on board with Maurizio Guterman. We're under yellow flags still, as 43 laps have been completed out of 72 here in Detroit. Now, all of them basically have finished their fuel stops for the day. They can make it through to the end. The only question mark is Paul Tracy, who's now in 6th place. He may need a splash of fuel towards the end of the race, but Carpentier's tactic earlier, Jeremy, of coming in and putting a bit less fuel in, moved him up into 2nd. That really has worked out for him now.
Yeah, great strategy. strategy there by the players team, and that is a great move. He's now got that track position in second place. We know he's got a fast car as well, and he'll be looking now to put some pressure on Helio Castroneves, and that of course is a Honda engine for Castroneves, a Ford for Patrick Carpentier. We know what's happened the last few years. Honda has won here in Ford's home territory in Detroit, and conversely on Honda's home ground at Twin Ring Motegi, it's been Ford Cosworth that's come out on top the last every time we've been there. So we'll see. I don't know, can Ford change that trend this weekend?
We'll wait and see with interest. Carpentier's had a horrible season so far. He has failed to finish 4 out of the 5 races. One of them with an accident. Jimmy Vasser is out. Jimmy Vasser out of his car. He was running in 7th place. Oh no, that's disappointing. He's been having a great run this year, and Jimmy looking very philosophical. I don't know what's happened. It must be a mechanical problem to have taken him out on the yellow flag laps, but what a disappointment for the former champion. Jimmy Vasser pulls off at the side of the road, and his day is done as well.
Wow, no idea what happened there, but it certainly just ceased to function somehow, some major mechanical problem. That's again good news for Paul Tracy to extend this caution period, because they can't go green until that car has been dragged out of the way.
So, well, it all changes. His teammate's still in there in the other Vistion car, Roberto Moreno. And Moreno has Paul Tracy right behind him. He's the one that needs a bit more yellow. And we reckon about another 8 laps of yellow, we're being told, from the pit. So he will be quite pleased that Jimmy's just pulled over.
Yes, he will. And there's Jimmy jogging back to the pits. And just 2 races of just bad luck for Jimmy Vasser. He's really done a good job this season in that basically unsponsored Reynard Toyota of Pat Patrick's team. They were, as you said earlier on, Ben, carrying Vistion colours this weekend. But he was running very well again, as he had been in Milwaukee, where of course he was taken out by a slower car.
Take another look at a replay here. This is onboard Adrian Fernandez looking at Tagliani ahead. He turned in way too quickly. The car didn't make the corner. Adrian didn't get distracted by that. Very easy for a driver following to get distracted by a car heading into the boondocks and following them in. It's not. We've seen that plenty of times in the past.
Yeah, you're laughing so hard inside your helmet that you follow him straight in there. But of course, Fernandez is way too professional for that, and we can see that safety team there getting ready to get Vasser's car out of the way.
So Castroneves still touring around behind the pace car at the moment. Carpentier and de Ferran will hunt him once we go back to green. Going past Jimmy's car, there it is on the left-hand side. The safety crew will get that out of the way fairly quickly, I think. Hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from Jimmy in a short while. He's still making his way back to pit lane, but he stopped not far from the pit lane exit, so at least he hasn't got to run that far here today. We're just looking through the top order. Notice that Roberto Moreno is still up there in 5th place. He's had a bit of an up and down season. Of course, new teammate coming in, that was Jimmy Vasser this year. He worked very well with Adrian Fernandez last year, but for some reason Moreno just hasn't featured as strongly this season. No,
he's struggled all season long. This is the first weekend he's been right up at the front with the competitive boys, and it's certainly a big relief for Roberto Moreno. He just didn't really get to grips with the car, and they weren't quite sure why, but certainly he is happy here, and there he is in the top 5, and that's going to be a big boost for his confidence.
Look at the few people that have moved up as a result of Vasser moving out particularly, but Michael Andretti now up into 7th position. So into the points, that's good for him. Fittipaldi, his former teammate, now in 8th. Severe's 9th. De Matter into the points. Now remember, he was just out the points for a while here, started a long way back, but he has got a chance to score here. Guterman 11th and Kenny Brecken 12th. In the championship at the moment, we have a 3-way tie for 3rd place in the series between Tracy, Vasser and Cristiano De Matter. Well, we know Vasser's out, Tracy's still in there, De Matter just in the points.
I don't know, did Jimmy, maybe he crashed? Look at this flat spot on that left rear wheel, I don't know.
Yeah, look at the left front
wheel
as
is
well.
Clearly not to right side, I don't know. Either he got hit from behind, or he just lost it there trying to get because the left front suspension there is severely tweaked, so clearly not some kind of mechanic. Well, I don't know if it was a mechanical problem that put it into the wall, or else maybe he just lost it getting the power on and trying to keep those tyres warm coming over that bump in turn 2.
That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Let's hope that that's not the case, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from him. The pace car still leads the leaders around on the Belle Isle Raceway here in Detroit. The sun is still shining. It's a glorious day for Helio Castroneves at the moment because nobody has been able to head him right from pole position. He has led every lap of this race. Patrick Carpentier chasing in second place. De Ferran is third, Franchitti fourth, ahead of Moreno, Tracy, Andretti, Fittipaldi, Sevilla, and Cristiano D'Amata. Looking down over the pit lane area, and while we've got this yellow happening at the moment, gives us an opportunity to look back at some of the accidents we've already seen today that has caused one or two of the yellows. First one we saw was between Jourdain and Zanardi. We saw Minassian spinning. We saw Tagliani running wide, and then Vassar. But we haven't actually worked out exactly what happened to Vassar. There was damage to the car, and we haven't seen exactly what caused it.
No, you can see the flat spot on that left rear tyre, so clearly he'd locked up the brakes there, and that's what had worn away that rubber into a sort of flat spot on that tyre, almost like an old British threepenny bit.
Looking at non-finishes in the past, you can see, look, 1990 they had a horrible one. Let's go and hear from Jimmy.
I just flat blew it. You know, I was we made our last stop. We left the tires on, they're hot, and when you go out on hot tires, you pick up a lot of the sandy material and marble. So I was working really hard trying to keep them clean for the restart, and I just lost it. I just totally lost it. Tried to keep the tires clean, and
I know you were confident this weekend. Did you feel like you had a car that could win this race?
Well, yeah, going into the race, yeah, but you know, it wasn't unfolding that way for us. So the car was good, but we just we came in a little early for our first stop, trying some sort of a strategy I wasn't sure about, and lost a little distance. The car was good, but you know, I'm sorry for my team. Patrick Racing Team did a good job this weekend. It gave me a great car, and I just flat blew it.
Thank you, Jimmy. We're going to swing right over here, Bruno.
An open admission from Jimmy Vassar. You don't often hear racing drivers admit that cleanly, but obviously it went wrong. Let's hear from
You ran into the problems that put you on the sideline. Did you think you had an opportunity to get by those Penske cars and win this?
For sure. I was just behind Helio trying to save fuel. I had the opportunity to pass him twice on the early race, but I said not to take too much risk now, let's save fuel. And after 15 or 20 laps, something on transmission started to be a little strange. Helio started to open a little bit, and I tried to go faster, but I feel the car wasn't good, and suddenly the car just became really bad, and I get Dixon or someone spun, I get marbles, and I couldn't drive. I lost a lot of positions, but something was completely wrong with the transmission. The car was really strange. You change tires, but the car is still really strange.
So disappointment for Bruno Junqueira after a very competitive run in the early parts of the race. Green flag waves, Helio Castroneves leads them across the line. Here we go then, into 26 laps to go in Detroit. Oriol Servia trying to make a little move on Christian Fittipaldi as they head down to turn one. It's down to the next corner that we might see a possible move. Paul Tracy got quite sideways in the background there, coming out of turn two. And Michael Andretti coming to the outside. Here comes Andretti versus Tracy, and Andretti makes the move. Wow, into sixth place. Good passing maneuver from Michael, and Christian Fittipaldi now also trying to get past Tracy. Tracy's got some muck on those rear tyres. He's all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, he's really sliding around there, and also he's still trying to save fuel as well. He can't probably go to a full race mixture, so the other guys have maybe got more horsepower, but that car certainly is sliding around quite a lot and giving Tracy a big handful at the moment.
Yeah, he's managing to hold on, but only just by the looks of things, and Fittipaldi chases, then it's Sevilla, then Cristiano D'Amata and Kenny Breck down in 12th position at this point. So Michael Andretti taking advantage of that restart to move up into 6th place, always a danger, and he's enjoying the relationship developing now with Team Motorola. Got that good second place at Milwaukee last time out. Tracy here just watching his mirrors, defending from Christian Fittipaldi. Oriol Servia right behind.
And we heard about Jimmy Vassar saying that when you keep those hot tyres on, when you do slow down under caution, you do tend to get some pickup on those tyres, get some bits of debris there. And it does take several corners or as much as a lap to get that debris clear, get the tyres clear, until they can pick up their full maximum grip again.
Well, now he's got going. He seems to be just able to eke out a little bit of a gap over Christian Fittipaldi, so he can breathe a little easier. Here comes Moreno, or thinks about it at least. Moreno moving out of line, looking to pass Dario Franchitti for 4th, but it didn't happen. He wasn't alongside enough, and we are seeing some challenges here. They know that there are no more pit stops to go before the end of this race. The only question mark there is Paul Tracy as to whether he can make it to the end on the amount of fuel in the car, but everyone else in that top group will safely get through to the end on the fuel they have. and a restart is one of the few opportunities on a track like this that you can make a passing manoeuvre.
That's true, but if somebody has saved some fuel early on, maybe they can run a little bit more richer mixture, and a richer mixture will use a little bit more fuel, but it will give them more horsepower. Maybe that'll enable them to get a run, maybe off turn 2 down that long straight, and maybe make a pass into 3.
Looking down over this Belle Isle Park Raceway, it's a huge park that is very popular on these summer weekends for picnickers and dog walkers and joggers, but this weekend the end of the island is closed off to them and it's all set aside for racing, and that's what we're enjoying here at the moment as Moreno continues to apply the pressure to Dario Franchitti. Franchitti's got to watch out in his mirrors because Moreno is pushing hard. There is our race leader, Castroneves. It's still Patrick Carpentier in second. Moreno again just moving out of line a little bit behind Dario Franchitti, but again not close enough to put a move on him, and Franchitti's all too aware of that. He knows that Moreno's going to have to try something a little bit harder than that if he's going to give up 4th position. Championship points on offer, and remember, in terms of qualifying this year, being reasonably well up in the championship is very important because it means you get put into the second group of qualifiers. So everybody chasing points throughout the season, not only in terms of the championship, which they always want, of course, but to stay in that fast group of qualifiers.
Yeah, we'll get into that fast group as this man is concerned. Roberto Moreno, 10 points here we get for 5th place, and he already has 6 to his name, and there is certainly the opportunity there maybe to get ahead of Max Papis, who is 13th at the moment out of the points. Max has 14 points to his name, and he was the last, if you like, of those in the fast group, in the second group of qualifiers. He stands 13th in the points. That is the top half of the field, and that is where the split is for qualifying.
Castroneves has just completed 49 laps now out of the 72, 23 laps to go. Carpentier was only 0.3 of a second behind him as they crossed the line. De Ferran gamely holding on to 3rd. He's finished 3rd. Oh, look at this, Carpentier right with Castroneves now and putting the pressure on him more and more. Castroneves getting it sideways, and Carpentier, wow, we've never seen him pushing quite this hard for the lead of a race. He's never won a Champ Car race. Elio Castroneves won his first race here last year, but Carpentier is seeking his first ever victory.
That's right, he's had 3 second place finishes, has Patrick Carpentier, 97 at Gateway, and also Gateway in the year last year as well, and Vancouver in 99. He desperately wants that first win, but he also, of course, needs those championship points as well. But what's interesting is the pace right now isn't as quick as it was before that last yellow. 1 minute 19.2 for the race leader that time around. They'd be doing 16s, 1 minute 16 second laps before the caution.
Perhaps saving a little bit of fuel. They still had a fairly long stint, although they can make it to the end, so perhaps they can't push that hard on fuel at this stage. And Castroneves has control, in effect, by being up front on a street circuit that is so crucial. But Carpentier knows there are a couple of opportunities around this track, and he's going to try and take advantage of those. De Ferran in 3rd, Franchitti 4th, then it's Moreno, Andretti, Tracy still running in 7th, Fittipaldi is 8th, Sevilla 9th, D'Amata is 10th, Kenny Breck in 11th, then it's Guterman 12th, Max Papis in 13th, and 14th, the man we rode with for a second or two there, Adrian Fernandez. Back with our leaders though, because we can't afford to look away from these two for too long. Carpentier, just that slightest opportunity and he'll be in there, I think.
Yeah, through the twisty section of the track it looks like the Honda is very, very good. Castroneves are able to pull out a little bit, and on that main front straight we can see that into turn 3 that Carpentier was pretty close and able to think about making a move on Castroneves, but here we are on the back side of the track and that gap has opened out just a little bit. So the key is going to be for Patrick Carpentier to get through turn 1 and particularly turn 2 and get a good run onto that main straight and try and make a move into turn 3.
Well, I have to say the record books favour Carpentier to a certain extent. We've had 10 different winners in the last 10 years of the race in Detroit. Castroneves would be a repeat winner, but that hasn't happened here for an awfully long time. So Carpentier really is in for the chance here. He's been hounding Castroneves for lap after lap, and he's still got some 21 laps in which to try and find a way past as they cross the line this time. These two have pulled away a little bit from De Ferran. It's about a 2-second gap back to Gilles De Ferran, and then Dario Franchitti in 4th place with Moreno still in 5th, but Moreno now not in a position to challenge Franchitti. Andretti is in 6th position. And as you can see, 3 times second place finish for Patrick Carpentier, as you mentioned a moment ago, Jeremy. Best result here was 5th place, in fact, last year. So he does seem to go well on this racetrack. Seems to suit his style, perhaps.
Yeah, it does, certainly. He's been very competitive with that car right from the moment they rolled it off the trailer on Friday, well, it's just about morning, because the 4 teams all sat out the first hour and a half of that first session in protest to bringing in this new pop-off valve location for this weekend. The Honda teams didn't run at all in the first session on Friday, so they're a couple of hours behind, and Toyota was able to get a little bit of a slight advantage there by getting some track time early in this weekend.
Well, it seems to have suited him whatever, because he was fastest in the first group of qualifiers in qualifying yesterday. He doesn't have any championship points, so that puts him into the slower group. On board with Maurizio Gugelmin here. Just look at this view. It's a great view that we're watching. You can see Maurizio's head bouncing around over the bumps. You can see the trees flashing past as he's up to speeds of 180 miles an hour. Really gives you a little bit of an idea, and also a little bit of an idea how close they get to the edge when you see the fence now and then on either side of the track. There's not a lot of space here when you're dealing with cars that are this rapid. And let's just take a look at the camera angle, just swinging around as he comes through turn 3. Now close into the wall here, and once again as he heads up towards the left-hander at turn 5. Great view from the camera.
Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? Maurizio Gugelmin there, he is running in 12th place, so we'll give him a championship point. He only has 4 points though so far this season. He has scored points in the last 2 races, so he was pretty happy with the car. He's been fairly happy with the car all weekend, but now in the race, he's not able to match the front runners for pace. At the moment, he's running 1 minute 19 second laps, and the leaders have picked up their pace. They're down now in the 17s. All of the first 11 cars lapping in the 117 range.
That wall comes up mighty close, doesn't it, sometimes with that view, and very enjoyable indeed seeing it from on board Maurizio Gugelmin. You can see the virtually cloudless sky above, and the speed that these guys are getting around this 2.3-mile circuit is extremely impressive, and they're putting in some faster lap times again, Jeremy. They're back down into the 1 minute 16 second bracket.
Yes, they are, and I think just took a little bit of time to get that build up off of those tyres. I think that's what Jimmy Vasser was talking about, and I think we saw these other drivers experiencing the same thing. Once they're able to get those tyres cleaned off, that's when the times come down, and also, as you suggested, they're making sure that they've got enough fuel to get to the end of the race.
Looking at a battle there, but there into the pits and out of his car is Nicolas Minassian, and the Frenchman joins his teammate Bruno Junqueira in retirement. That's a sad day for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Hasn't been a particularly strong season for them. Of course, they decided to go for the 2 rookies this year. A brave choice in many ways to go for 2 complete rookies to this form of racing when they had Jimmy Vasser in the team there last year, a former champion, and a brave choice, as I say, and perhaps it's not proving to be the best decision.
No, certainly a lot of people are questioning that, and having said that, of course, Bruno Junqueira, he has been mighty all the way through the season, but Nicolas Minassian, he's been struggling a little bit, and as you said earlier on, Ben, particularly those accidents have not helped his confidence at all.
No, they're both very talented drivers, Junqueira and Minassian. It's purely the fact that both of them are new to the series and don't have that much experience of the different tracks and the different styles required for oval driving, but both very, very competitive drivers and have proved themselves in Formula 3000 in Europe. So I'm sure we'll see plenty of good things from them as we go through the season. Christian Demata's father watching. That's Tony, keeping an eye on things, former racer himself. And Demata is in 10th place now. This is where a potential champion really shows whether he can become champion, because he's down in 10th. He's scored good points this year, but he needs to keep his head and just get more points here today.
Yeah, he does, and he can't afford to throw away any points at all. He certainly don't want to throw away 3, trying to get 4 for 1 more point there just for 9th place. But at the same time, he's certainly putting Oriol Servia under all sorts of pressure. And talking of pressure, Castroneves is just relieving the pressure on himself a little bit, just edging away ever so slightly from that man, Patrick Carpentier.
Yes, Carpentier is not close enough at all to challenge now. Castroneves looks very comfortable up front. Carpentier comes through just about a second behind now. 1.1.
Oh, look at that, Frank Kitty. A great move down to the inside. I'm sorry, I say look at that. But it happened right in front of us. I'm sorry, but look at the back of the picture there. We can see
Yes, De Ferran is not there. De Ferran is going slowly, and Franchitti's up to third. So you saw that, Jeremy, as they came past our commentary position. Dario Franchitti made the move into turn one. Brave place to get past. And whatever happened, it went wrong for Gilles de Ferran. So he's dropped a lot of time, a lot of places. And that's put him only just ahead of Oriol Servia. So he's now in 8th place.
It was a great lunge down to the inside. Such a shame we haven't got it. I don't know what happened to de Ferran. I don't think there was any contact between those two. So there is Roger Penske looking on.
Yeah, a little disappointed now, I think. Well, de Ferran has to keep an eye on his mirrors now, because I think he got a bit of muck on his tyres, so he's now not as competitive as he was, and he's having to defend that position quite firmly from the Spaniard. But Franchitti has got himself up into 3rd position, and I wonder whether he's now going to be able to chase down Patrick Carpentier for 2nd. Once again, it shows you can overtake here if you grab your opportunity, if you're brave. Why we wonder, perhaps de Ferran had a little bit of a problem as well. We'll have to see, but certainly as they came past us, Franchitti was making the move on de Ferran, and it may well be that de Ferran simply got squeezed wide and therefore lost a lot of positions on the exit of the corner. Across the line he comes now then, in 8th place, and that's moved everybody up one that were behind, so that's brought Moreno up into 4th place now, Michael Andretti up to 5th, Paul Tracy up into 6th place from his 23rd starting position, Christian Fittipaldi is now 7th, de Ferran 8th, 9th now for Sevilla, and 10th place for Cristiano De Mata, 11th is Kenny Brack, and 12th Maurizio Gugelmin. Well, exciting stuff. 16 laps are left. Is Castroneves going to be able to hold on here, and how quickly is Dario Franchitti going to be able to close the gap? We'll have to keep an eye on that. Castroneves at the moment with just under a second advantage over Patrick Carpentier. Franchitti on the chase.
With Hasseröder, the German premium beer.
Into the tyres on the exit of turn number 12. So that means that we've got the cars all slowed down behind the pace car once again, and the Spaniard has walked away from the car. He's fine, but a fair bit of damage done to the front of his machine. Sad that, because he was running quite nicely inside the top 10. But what it does mean, of course, is everyone has closed back up, and we could have quite a race on our hands. 14 laps are left to go at the moment. It'll take a couple of laps to get this cleared up, but then we could have a sprint battle. Now, we're looking at a replay. This is a replay of Fernandez. This simply was him avoiding the tyres as he came round. Sevilla's car off to the left. A nice bunch of tyres in the middle of the road, and Fernandez having to do a little slalom to get past.
Doing a good job there, getting on the brakes, getting the car slowed down, and then worrying about missing the object after that. Good example there of an avoidance technique by Adrian Fernandez. Get off the brakes in order to turn that car around at last minute.
So there are our standings. Castroneves from Carpentier and Franchitti, and we saw Franchitti move into 3rd just a little while before this caution period. He got past de Ferran, so he's obviously on a charge. Carpentier, we've seen, has been hungry to find a way past Castroneves, and now that they will be closed up again under yellow, we could have a battle between the three of them. Moreno in 4th place. Let's take another look here. And there was the accident. Just got a bit wide, didn't he?
Yeah, he did seem he was just following it in line through that corner. He was right behind Gilles de Ferran, who came on the track in front of him. Here is on board with Mauricio Gugelmin. Just manages to pick it through.
Makes it look very easy, but he had to keep it nicely under control there. Another view from the slow motion angle, and that was Servia's same corner, of course, that Alex Tagliani went off at.
Yeah, and looks like you just get a little bit offline, and then you sail into the barriers. I think he was just trying to carry a little bit too much speed through that corner, and away the car goes. And a shame for Oriol Servia, as you say, that Sigma team, they've done a good job this weekend. He was running, as you say, in 9th place there. That would have been good points, a good result, but it's not going to be for Oriol Servia.
Seen 10 cars go out of this race, had 3 caution periods so far, but only the one leader from the start. Helio Castroneves has controlled from pole position. He's already had the extra point for pole, an extra point for leading those laps, but he's still seeking the 20 points, and that would really help him, because Kenny Breck down in 10th position is only going to score a few points for that. It will close the championship battle up considerably.
Yes, it will. Just 3 points for 10th place and 20 points for the win, plus leading most laps, plus the pole as well. But look at this man here, Paul Tracy. He started way back on the grid. He was in 23rd place, and he is now up in 6th place, but because of that strategy, and this yellow again, just what he needed.
Yes, perfect for him, and that should allow Tracy to score valuable points. As we wait for the track to be cleaned up, it's going to take another lap or so, I think, before they're ready to get the race underway again. Gives us an opportunity to just take a moment's breath and consider what's happening. Castroneves just touring slowly behind the pace car.
With LG Electronics, digitally yours.
Passed. Castroneves begins to pick up the pace now as they will approach the green flag this time. You can see the cars twitching around on cold tyres as they now head for the green, and Castroneves got on the power beautifully. Look, he managed to accelerate away slightly from Carpentier in second, but watch out for Dario Franchitti in third. He made a great move on De Ferran a little while ago and looks as though he might well be able to put a move on Carpentier, sliding through turn 2, and watch Moreno in fourth.
And look at Dario Franchitti, he was flying through turn 2 there, but no, Carpentier's got the speed on the straights. And look at that, Castroneves defends that inside line. He's allowed to do that. You can't weave around, but you can protect your position once. Look at that, those cars really snaking around. It's a harder tire, as we said earlier on, from fast. So just look at Dario Franchitti, gets a power on, and inside to turn 6.
Oh, they give each other just enough room. Great racing from both of them here, that they were able to make it through safely. Carpentier is a bit wide there through turn 6, not quite clipping the apex as accurately as he would have liked, but it's almost impossible to overtake at the end of this sequence. It's a curve followed by another curve into a tight right-hander, and there's no room to get past here, and Castroneves just managed to make a little bit of a break. He took that tight line into turn 3 and almost suffered because of it, but now he's just managed to make a bit of a break.
Yeah, he has, and as I said, it's a harder tyre, so it takes a little bit longer to get up to temperature and get that full grip back into them, so you've got to be very, very careful, or you've got to be very, very brave, and that's what these guys are trying to be, to make a move and make it count before the tyres really come up to temperature.
Fourth place, it's Roberto Moreno. Fifth place for Michael Andretti. Sixth is Paul Tracy. Behind them it's Fittipaldi, De Ferran, De Mata and Kenny Breck. But it's the top 3 we're concentrating on at the moment. 11 laps to go, and the 3 of them absolutely together. It is on the next section of the track where the best overtaking opportunity appears, but it needs a pretty brave dive under braking into turn number 3, and no one there is close enough to have a go. There is Moreno in the Vistion car in 4th position. Behind him is the blue and white car of Michael Andretti.
It seems to be that Patrick Carpentier is very quick at the southern end of the racetrack. Turns to 11, 12, 13, coming back towards the start-finish line. He makes up a lot of time there, but Castroneves is quicker through turns 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and here down towards 7 on the strand there. But this time, Carpentier has kept close behind him, and he slows up a little bit on that lap around. But the last time, the lap time was a 1:22.7, so that's quite a lot slower, as we saw that we're going earlier on. They're down in the low 16, so it just takes time to get these tyres really up to temperature.
Interestingly as well, the front tyre pressure sensor on Elio Castroneves' car has got some problems with it, we're hearing from the team. So they can monitor tyre pressures in the pits, amazingly enough. They have sensors on the tyre pressures. They're not getting a reading from one of the front tyres of Elio's car. Now, whether that's the sensor that's at fault or whether there is a tyre pressure problem, more likely to be the sensor, to be honest. And Elio should be in reasonable shape, but it's a concern for the team. Oh, and that's Brian Herter who's crashed. Brian Herter's crashed into the wall, and that's surely going to bring out another full course caution with 10 laps to go. And suddenly we're seeing lots of mistakes. They're just getting a fraction off line and there's no grip. That's the problem. The line is so distinct in the latter part of the race. Even though this harder tyre doesn't seem to produce many marbles, little bits of rubber, it still means if you get off line, there's no grip. Let's take a look here at what happened to Brian Herter. It's that same corner again. Exactly the same place as Sevilla a few laps ago. Brian Herter hits the wall.
Strangely, she'll be crashing there. Look, you can see him just carries too much speed into the corner and again into the wall. You can see the Simple Green safety team there of CART into action there to get this car out of the way. But the full course caution is out and the pace will be slowed, and we'll get ready for another restart. And they're pretty interesting, these restarts, I must say. It's a shame to break up the action, but the cars are obviously pretty tough to drive.
Let's go and hear from Alex Tagliani in pit lane.
I don't know why exactly. We're still trying to find out, but I just put my foot on the brake and the pedal went down to the floor. And I mean, I went full speed into the wall. The impact was so big that my foot slid from the brake pedal in between the brake and the throttle, and my ankle was stuck in both pedals. That's why it took so long to get out of the car, but I was fine.
Do you think, have you seen the Servia or now the Herta crash? Do you think it could be related?
I don't know if, because my crash, or I don't know if when I brake, if my brake broke and there's some brake fluid on the track and I left that, and now, it's guys had problem, but definitely my crash was not because the track is definitely the brakes.
Well, thankfully with lots of brakes, you're okay. Thank you, Alex.
Alex Tagliani, the second of the Forsyth cars. Remember, his teammate running in second at the moment, Patrick Carpentier, and the team hoping, crossed fingers, touching wood, that they're actually going to get a decent result for once. The two drivers have only scored 1 point between them. That was for Tagliani last time out in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it should have been 2 points last time out in Milwaukee, because Tagliani actually was 11th on the road as they took the checkered flag. But after the checkered flag, and I don't think we told you this because it was decided somewhat later on that evening, the chief steward had been watching he and Alex Zanardi battling for position, and the chief steward Chris Neifel decided that Tagliani was blocking Zanardi to an unfair degree, so he gave a 1 second penalty to Tagliani, and that was enough to move him behind Alex Zanardi in the order. So Zanardi was given the 11th place and Tagliani 12th last time out.
Another example that Chris Neifel is going to keep a close eye and be strict about what's going on track, and I think drivers respect that, don't they?
Yeah, the drivers really do expect that. They're delighted with the fact that Chris Neifel, there's been a lot said in drivers' meetings over the years and not a lot of action by the chief steward, so they're pleased that he is stamping down on any tactics that aren't quite fair.
Now, if the drivers were to finish the race where they are right now, that is what the points table would look like, and what a difference, because coming into this race, Kenny Breck had a 23-point advantage. That was down to 22 after qualifying. If it stays like this, it'll be down to just 5 points. Tracy will have moved up a little bit in third place, but Andretti will be right behind him. D'Amata and De Ferran also would be very, very close. And we're into quite a stretch of races. There are 6 races coming up in the next 7 weeks, and this often, Jeremy, is where the championship gets decided in this stretch.
That's right. It's good for my frequent flyer mileage bonuses, perhaps, but it's a heck of a hard struggle for these crews. These teams have to work so hard between the races. There's a heck of a lot of work to be done on these cars to prepare them after one weekend and get ready for the next weekend. Not only that, but they have to travel well over 2,000 miles between now and Portland next weekend.
The area being cleared up there. Looks like we should be ready to go soon. So here comes the pace car around again. I think it'll be at least one more lap before we get ready to go racing on the Belle Isle Raceway here. The crowd watching from the grandstands behind the pits on both sides of the pit straight, and we've got some packed grandstands enjoying the action here this afternoon. The downtown Detroit's and the skyline there in the background, the Renaissance Center, where they used to have a track. That's where the original downtown circuit was, and they had Formula One Grand Prix down there. John Watson was the winner of the 1982 event down there, having started from some 17th place on the grid, took a victory on the downtown track, and then Kart also ran on that track for a while before moving to this track on Belle Isle. Max Papis into the pits.
Yeah, and he hadn't made a pit stop. I guess he must have been one of the others not to make a pit stop in the previous round. I don't remember that, but anyhow, he is in there for a splash of fuel, and he gives up 12th place to do so. He now falls to last on the field. There are 14 cars still running, and this man here, Adrian Fernandez, does move up to take that final position at the moment amongst the points. That is in 12th place.
So Adrian is keeping that little bit of heat into the tyres. His teammate, the Japanese Shinji Nakano, is in 14th place, just 1 place behind him, interestingly enough. So a good team effort, but it's not quite as far up the order as they would have liked. Working that steering wheel quite hard, and again that comes back to what we've been saying about keeping a little bit of heat in the tyres, keeping the pressures up as well. Don't forget, if the tyre cools down, the pressure actually reduces inside the tyre. And it's not until the pressures come back up again that they actually get the handling that they want from the car.
That's right. To build up that pressure then helps to build up the temperature as the cars slide across the road, and that's what gives them the grip. And as we said earlier on, it's a harder tyre than in the past, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to build that heat and the pressure into that rubber.
Quite a few DNFs today, 11 so far, and we haven't even got to the end of this race. Compares worst to more recent years, not the worst of all, but still quite a high attrition rate in Detroit today. Quite a lot of them have been accidents, of course, but one or two mechanicals too.
Yeah, the highest here on Belle Isle was that very first race back in 1993, and before that, of course, the race was held in that downtown area, as we saw from that wonderful shot of downtown Detroit around the Renaissance Center, the Ren Center as it's known, and that is sort of landmark of the city center here in Detroit. And now just a couple of miles away, upstream on the Detroit River, and we're getting ready for a restart. Ben, we'll have 65 laps in the book as they come past, 7 to go to the end, and there's Paul Tracy.
This is going to be fun, isn't it? We've got some real racers in there ready to attack, and we're going to be going green as they come past the start-finish line this time. Here we go. 7 laps to go as they cross the line this time. Castroneves gets a good getaway, and the pressure's on him to a certain extent. It's always tough when you've got to keep doing restarts like this, and you know you've got 2 quick guys behind. Frank Kitty, again, was very quick through turns 1 and 2. Watch Frank Kitty. He's going for it. Frank Kitty's trying to get into second place down the inside. He's alongside. He makes the move. Can he get round the corner? Yes, he can, but he's contact with Moreno. Moreno gets hit by Carpentier as a result of Frank Kitty going sideways. Oh, and Carpentier's lost another place. Andretti's got past him. And poor Patrick, after such a good run here today, that just shows you when you get offline what happens now. Tracy's going on Carpentier side by side. Tracy gets through as well. Oh, and Carpentier's day is going from bad to worse. Fittipaldi gets past him. He's going backwards very quickly indeed, and now it's Gilles de Ferran who's putting the pressure on.
Yeah, what a shame for Patrick Carpentier, but what a great move by Dario Franchitti. He took the bull by the horns there, and he dived to the inside in turn 3. Tremendous move. That's what you've got to do on this sort of a racetrack. You've got to be prepared to go that extra mile and really just take a risk if you want to make a pass.
Frank Kitty, therefore, into second place, and now chasing after Castroneves, and Moreno looking for his first podium finish of this season, and Michael Andretti, who also had a horrible qualifying effort yesterday. Well, horrible, not as bad as Paul Tracy's. He was 13th on the grid, and he's right up there now in 5th. Look at the replay. Frank Kitty got sideways. Carpentier had to lift a bit to avoid Frank Kitty, and also veered across. He didn't know Moreno was there. They made contact. They both survived. I think they'll get away with that, Jeremy, because it was a relatively, as these things go with racing cars, a relatively low speed impact.
Yeah, I hope so. And certainly a great move again by Moreno. He got the power on, got to the inside, and he kept his foot in there and was able to get on the inside to move into 3rd place at turn 4. But that is Dario Franchitti. He's got the hammer down. He's chasing after the race leader, Helio Castroneves.
This is one of the best drives we've seen from Franchitti. Although, having said that, in Milwaukee, he overtook a huge number of cars after he stalled in the pit lane, and he came out of that race, I think, very happy indeed with the way the car went, the way that he overtook so many cars. But of course he still didn't feature up front because he dropped right to the tail of the field. Here again he's doing it. He's showing that you can overtake, and really racing well today. He overtook Gilles de Ferran, the reigning champion. He's found a way past Carpentier. He's one of the few people who's been able to overtake successfully on this track.
And he's done it all season long. He was fantastic in Milwaukee 2 weeks ago. He passed a whole bunch of cars there. He was on a different strategy, and he is flying now. He's a much quicker lap there than Helio Castroneves. The gap last time was 1.5 seconds when he crossed start finish. Now it's less than 0.7 of 1 second.
It's been a while since he last won. Australia 1999 at Circus Paradise with his last victory. He loves the street tracks. He's always gone well on these street circuits, right from the word go when he started with Hogan Racing in the United States, and he is now putting the pressure on Castroneves, and Castroneves will be all too aware of the way that Dario has moved up the ranking, got past people, and the pressure is on the Brazilian. Great stuff.
Yeah, it is, and Dario, he wants to get back into the win column. He hasn't won a race in way too long a period as far as he's concerned, and he wants to set that record straight this weekend. He needs some points, of course, but he wants to get that win, and his girlfriend Ashley Judd, the actress, she's here this weekend. She was also racing in the celebrity race, the Dodge Neon race, and she put it into the wall, but Dario is upholding the honour here of that couple. He's doing a great job in trying to track down Helio Castroneves, but Castroneves too, absolutely foot perfect so far this afternoon.
Yeah, you're not seeing many mistakes from Castroneves. You have to say that the pressure's been on him on all these restarts. He had pressure from Carpentier, now he's got pressure from Franchitti, but you don't often see the back end of that red and white Reynard actually stepping out. You don't often see him looking as though he's about to hit the wall. I have to say Castroneves has matured so much from that first victory he scored here last year. That confidence that he gained from getting his first win is so evident here this afternoon. Roberto Moreno currently in third place, having started in 7th. A good drive this for the veteran, and now he's trying to get his championship back on course. At the moment he's way down in 18th place in the series, and that's not where he expected to be, having run so well last season.
No, but he's running beautifully now. He's matching the pace of these two. The all top 3 cars turned at 1:17.0 that time around. They were the 3 quickest cars on the track, and there's not too much to choose between them. Just one little slip, and that's going to be very, very costly. So you just have to make sure you don't make any kind of a mistake. You don't give the other guy behind you any sort of an opportunity.
Let's just quickly run through the order then after the drama of the restart. Castroneves from Franchitti and Moreno. Andretti, Michael Andretti in 4th place. Paul Tracy is in 5th place. You see Michael there in that 4th place. Tracy 5th, Fittipaldi 6th, Carpentier, after that mistake and being passed by Franchitti, Carpentier's down in 7th, then it's Deferrin 8th, D'Amata 9th, Kenny Breck in 10th place, and that's how our top 10 looks at the moment. Michael Andretti, there he is going through in the Team Motorola car, effectively a teammate to Dario Franchitti. He runs with the Barry Green owned Team Motorola, and Barry Green must be very pleased with the way these two are going, and in fact Tracy as well, because Tracy's in 5th. So Barry's got all 3 of his cars in the top 5. That's an excellent achievement. Let's go and hear from him.
Does Dario have anything in reserve for Helio?
Oh, we think so. I mean, it's going to be tough to pass. It's always tough to pass, but he's done a great lap. He's had a couple of quick laps catching up to him, but you know, there's only a few laps left. But you know, it's a great day for him so far. He almost had Deferrin a couple of times in the pits. We'll see what happens. And Paul's up there, Michael's there. It's great. It's really good. We just got to make it to the end now.
All right, we'll let you get back to the monitor. I know you're enjoying it. Gary?
Well, there is a very happy Barry Green. Let's see if he's going to be just as happy. Meanwhile, let's go down to Penske now.
Obviously, you got to get to the end to win, and last couple laps are obviously going to have a bit of drama. We're not sure in terms of one of our tire pressure sensors has gone away, and one of them looks as though it's low, so we'll have a bit of drama here.
But has the handling changed at all on the car?
No, he hasn't reported that, and we left our tires on the second stop. I mean, the Firestone tires have been great. Just a matter of what happens here in the next lap or so.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim Cindric there at Team Penske, and on that last lap it was a faster lap from Castroneves by just a 1/10 of a second than Dario Franchitti could manage, and Franchitti's opportunities are running out. They will get the white flag the next time they come past the start stand.
You can see how hard Dario Franchitti is trying there, pushing that car sideways coming off the corners, and he's going to push as hard as he can to try and make Helio Castroneves make a mistake. It looks like he will, but you never know. Just another quick note to Max Papis. He made that pit stop during this previous caution, and it paid off for him. He's got past both Cinci Nakano and Adrian Fernandez, so Papis is back up to 12th place where he was before he made that pit stop.
So that's good for Papis, up into the points at least, but it's not been such a good day for Team Rahal. Kenny Breck, the other driver there, championship leader, is in 10th place. Bobby Rahal is here this weekend, by the way. What a busy program he's got this year, looking after Jaguar Formula One and his team here in Champ Cars, but he's here nonetheless, as Castroneves will this time receive the white flag to indicate he's on to his final lap, and Dario is too far away. Unless Castroneves makes a huge mistake somewhere, the Scotsman is going to have to settle for second. Nonetheless, it's been a good drive from Franchitti to get into this second place. He will be pleased with that, and it will ensure that he's a little safer in the faster qualifying group when they go to Portland next week. Moreno definitely under a bit of pressure from Michael Andretti. These two rivals from so many years back. Their rivalry has existed for many, many years. And meanwhile, we hear that Tracy's in trouble with fuel. Tracy is in trouble with fuel. We knew that it was going to be tight. Oh, and there he is. He has come to a halt, and they nearly did it, but it's the final lap that has been the downfall for Paul Tracy.
Oh no, what a shame for him. He's less than a mile and a half from the finish line, but that's all it takes. That's the difference between winning and losing. You've got to push the envelope in this series to get a result. They tried everything, that team. They did a great job. They had to pull that strategy. It didn't quite work out for him. You've got to feel sorry for Paul Tracy. He's done a great job all weekend, but so have these two boys as well.
The checkered flag is being made ready now. Just a couple of corners to go through, and Castro Neves is going to take victory here in Detroit. The 26-year-old who won here last year does it again. Fantastic from Castro Neves. He never put a wheel wrong, and he is the jubilant winner of the Detroit Grand Prix. Listening to him on the radio, Dario Franchitti takes second. He's delighted with that. He worked so hard for it. And third place, the first podium of the year for Roberto Moreno. Plenty of stories from this race, but for Castro Neves taking his victory here, his second win in succession in Detroit, he is over the moon about that. And Jeremy, I talked there for a moment about the fact that he's matured since that win here last year. That was proof of it, this race today.
Absolutely, a flawless drive again from Elio Castro Neves. A brilliant performance here. You know, last 2 weeks ago in Milwaukee, he had a fast car there. He went around the outside of Kenny Breck into the first corner, but he didn't really leave Breck enough room as they went round. They both collided. No points for either of them. There's Michael Andretti. He stopped maybe to give Paul Tracy a lift back to the pits, and Paul looked exasperation in his body language. He gives Michael a shake of the hand there, but disappointment for him. And let me say too, Patrick Carpentier, he lost a couple of positions on that last lap. So Patrick Carpentier falls to 8th place. He lost out both to Gilles de Ferran and Cristiano de Mata.
Yeah, you've got to feel for Carpentier, haven't you? I mean, he drove so brilliantly in the early part of this race and put the pressure on Castro Neves. Looked as though he might challenge for the lead at one point, and he goes home with an 8th place finish. He will feel so gutted after that, but that's the way it goes in this competitive series. You know, when you lose one place, you can so easily lose 6 or 7.
Yeah, you can, and he really didn't do anything wrong. He just it was a great move by Dario Franchitti down the inside, and he got wide there onto the dirt, picked up a bit of loose stuff on those tyres, and it's just difficult to get back into your rhythm again, and that cost him dearly. But a great drive by this man, Elio Castro Neves. The Spider-Man gets out of the car, and what do you think he's going to do, Ben?
I think he's going to climb a fence or two. He's got to do it, hasn't he? He has become renowned for it. Oh, meanwhile, Moreno's doing donuts. You can see the smoke in the background. They are all celebrating. The Brazilians are going mad here in Detroit. They didn't have the whole podium to themselves. It was Brazilian 1, 2, 3 in qualifying. It's a Brazilian 1, 3 in the race, with Dario Franchitti splitting them. But celebrations start already for Elio Castro Neves. And don't forget, Jeremy, the next race coming up next week, Portland. He was so quick there last year, had pole position. It was actually won by his teammate de Ferran. He's got to be so confident as they go into the next sequence of races.
Yes, he has. He's on the crest of a wave. He's really, just as you say, driving with a heck of a lot of confidence. He's a very confident young man. He's a very happy young man this afternoon, though.
Yeah, celebrating with
that's
the
Andy
team.
Bourne. Yeah, that's Andy Bourne, the race engineer. Those two have a great partnership that started off in Indy Lights.
Castro Neves just giving everybody a hug at the moment, and the celebration, the emotion that we see from this young man. Remember last year, him running around with a mobile telephone, ringing his family, ringing everybody. Well, now people are getting a little more used to him winning. He won the Indy 500, of course, when the Team Penske re-entered that great race, took the victory there, and now here he is closing to within a few points of the championship lead in the Champ Cars. And hopefully we will get a word with him any moment. He's certainly under a barrage of microphones being put in front of him. Let's hear from him.
Are you a better fence climber now than you were a year ago?
I'm getting better and better, I tell you. But again, now we're getting in our territory. So we're getting better and better. The championship just starting, and what a great team, what a great car. I tell you, unbelievable.
One of the sensors was off on the front tire pressure, and you didn't know if there was a problem. Did you at any time think you had a problem?
They told me, I said, I should have known that. Forget about it. The car's doing great, but I forget about it. I knew the car was good, and again, just going straightaways. I knew I have to be fast. The rest of it just hanging out. Hey, woo! One more, Spider-Man! Yeah!
Now, about the championship with Kenny Breck, I think ending up around the 9th or 10th position, this is a huge gain for you today. Was that what you were targeting when you started this day?
Well, the target is to collect the most points as possible. Pole position, most lead laps, and the victory, and we did it. So I don't know what happened to him, but that's what we're going to do, keep going from now on.
This fence climbing deal has become a signature trademark. Did you ever think that it might evolve into the popularity a year ago when you did it here for the first time?
I just have to thank you guys media here. It's so fantastic, and I'm going to keep doing. Woo!
All right, next thing you know, we'll have to climb with him.
Oh, look at that. The celebrations, the trophy being handed out to Castroneves, the winner for the second year in succession at Detroit, and no one's done that for a long time. Franchitti finished second ahead of Moreno, Andretti, Fittipaldi, De Ferran sixth, seventh for D'Amato, then Carpentier, Breck, Guterman, Papis, and Fernandez. And Castroneves getting the extra points for most laps led and for pole.
Yeah, look at those there, the non-finishers there. Dixon down there, Zanardi, another dreadful day for him. And Bruno Junqueira started on the front row. He wasn't able to convert it into a top finish.
Now just 5 points separate the top two in the championship as they head off to Portland. It is a permanent road course, the sort of track that Castroneves and Team Penske absolutely love. And Kenny Breck has yet to win a race on a road course or a street course. So Breck will be under pressure. There's no doubt about that. And De Ferran will be trying to defend his win from last year. I hope you've enjoyed all the action from Ben Edwards and Jeremy Shaw. Join us again next time from Kart in Detroit. Bye-bye for now.
Kart.
With Hasseröder, the German premium beer. And LG Electronics, digitally yours.